the data looking at bad behaviour, these data suggest that experience associated with coming into care, and while in the care system may be more influential than experiences before coming into care in determining children's behaviour in the first few months of an adoptive placement, the first few months being 21 months. Now, the point about that is what they're saying is that these children who are in adoptive placements, they're placed with adoptive families, it all goes very wrong, but it's the evidence they have is that it's by taking the children into care and by their treatment in care that their behavior gets... Yeah,
they're screwed up, not even so much by the adoptive parents, but being warehoused for
not the adoptive parents. No, it's not, because by that time it's too late.
No, exactly. It's grabbing the baby when it's 6 months old or a year old, warehousing it for a year, you know, living in basically a cage with a bunch of other kids, punching them in the face.
Not a cage, no, but the point about it is it's not the same as being with your parents, however bad they may be at times. But you know, I am not somebody who believes the state should not intervene, by the way.
But let me just expand on this.
My concern is it intervenes inappropriately all the time, and the accountability is not there. You know, I
understand. So let me throw this out at you then, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I've looked at the numbers. I've seen the numbers that the government in England, a child is 7 times more likely to be abused or hurt in government custody. Here, it's 5 times more likely. Now, you can disagree with that number if you like, but I've seen that in your papers. I know here, it's been the cover of Time magazine, you know, the shame of foster care. The point is that let's face the facts. You get more lazy people, pedophiles, scum, control freaks that want access to kids that get into this business. Now, I'm not saying even a large percentage are, but statistically, there are a lot more predators that get into state care because they want access to children, and we know, sir, that it is screwing children up to be in this system, and obviously you want to take somebody's child if they're beating them with a chain or not feeding them or they're in a crack house. But I don't see that. I see them hunting down Christians' children. I see them taking people's children for no reason.
Well, they take them as an odd reason. You know, like they have a tendency to take children because the mother's a victim of domestic violence. I find that odd because you would. You know, the evidence of that. I mean, one of the cases, Angela Wildman's case, a very interesting case. I spoke to today, actually, and she's over in Ireland at the moment. Just to give you a bit of her history, she was the victim. It's been in the papers, by the way. She was a victim of domestic violence, and she phoned. It could be a lot worse. I'm not going to belittle it, but she phoned the police, got injunctions against her ex, and the authorities decided to use this to take her then 5-year-old son into care.
That's right. Women aren't told this. They're told, put an injunction in, even if he's yelling at you, and then they don't know they're coming to snatch your kid. Yeah,
well, they actually use the injunction as the reason that the children were at risk, which is all a bit strange. But this is why why mothers are feeling that not to report domestic violence, because they're worried that their children will be taken if they report domestic. We've got a lot of that in England. But anyway, I'll give you more of Angela's story because it's quite an interesting one.
Okay, go ahead.
So she got pregnant and she knew she faced the removal of the baby at birth and probable adoption of the baby. So she took her son out of foster care and did a runner to Spain. And she lived and worked in Spain for about a year, and they found her in Spain. And they started proceedings to take her son off her and bring him back to England, right? And so she basically got out of Spain and went to Sweden. To be honest, she found it a bit cold there. And then she went to Ireland. But she went to Ireland with a view to standing and fighting the system rather than giving in. So her son went to school. She appeared on all the databases, computer systems, so that everyone would know where she was. And lo and behold, they tried to take her son from Ireland. So she's got 2 sons with her now. Well, at that stage, one was 7, one was 1.5. And they wanted to take the older one and put him in care, in foster care in Devon, with a view to getting him adopted, because she was once previously a victim of domestic violence from her husband that she hadn't seen for a year.
So let's be clear. Because a husband punches you in the nose, you
I don't
divorce
think
him.
he actually went that far, but
I
yeah,
mean,
let's
not her
assume
case. Stay
that's
there.
true, that he did punch her on the nose. I don't think he actually did, but
okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
let's
talking
assume.
about that case. I'm saying hypothetically, your husband punches you in the nose, but not he didn't even do that in this case. I understand, but your husband punches you, you divorce him, and then they still take your kids, even though you're in another country.
She's not. When she's been going around Europe, she's not been going around.
No, I know, but I'm saying they're trying to take the kids. Is what I'm saying. Stay there. This is just amazing. All over the Western world, you have a learning disability, or you say that you're a victim of domestic violence, you get a divorce, and still the state tries to take your children. Our guest, member of Parliament, is being very precise about these particular cases. I was just making the point that think about how amazing that is. She's away from her husband. He's saying in this particular case he didn't even punch her. Now they're saying yelling at your children is abuse. You know, don't run the street, no, and that's it. So continuing, sir, you were trying to go through this case. So she's got 2 children. She's in Ireland. She's fighting it. Continue.
Yeah, well, look, basically, what it is that, you know, they're trying to take the older child and put him in foster care in Devon, right? Now, that just can't be sensible. It just can't be sensible. She's sitting there with 2 children, a younger one who's like 2, and an older one who's 7. They want to take one of them and put him in foster care in Devon. Not both of them. The local authorities in Ireland, because as I said, Ireland's a lot more sensible than England. The local authorities in Ireland have met up with her, and they're all right. You know, they say, well, there's no problems at all, right? But the Devon ones are still intent on taking her older son and putting him in care in Ireland.
Who are these people? What's wrong with them? Don't they have any soul?
I just think it's completely mad. Completely and totally mad. There can't be any justification for that at all. Because if the children are at risk, then they're both at risk. Right? Not just one of them. You can't just take the one you can get. And if the local authority says, well, they're actually not at risk, then you should leave them alone.
Well, how do they say because she had an ex-husband that somehow was mean to her that she now can't have her older child? And, I mean, this is insane.
Well, I know, but the point about, apart from that, part of it is the irrationality of the decision in the first instance, which is you're taking completely the wrong actions. Actions that do screw up the children. There's no question about it. The actions of the state do a lot of damage to these children's lives. The evidence is there. It's more and more evidence as time goes by. And that isn't an argument for not taking children into care ever. And if you take the issue of learning difficulties, there is a wide range of things described as learning difficulties. And there are certain people who have severe learning difficulties where I myself would not take the view that they could cope with looking after children, right? So that's not, you know, I'm not somebody who says everybody with a learning difficulty has to look after their own child. What I say is that we get these decisions really badly wrong, and that the checks and balances don't work.
Well, you talk about a secret court where 1 out of 1,000 times the parents get to keep their children.
3 out of 1,000.
3 out of 1,000. Okay.
Yeah, it's 0.27%.
So 3 out of 1,000. Trying to get that number straight.
What it is, and I'm sorry about being picky about this. 0.27% is roughly 3 out of 1,000, isn't it? Right. Now, the point about it is that where the case is contested, remember there are various potential outcomes. It's possible that the local authority withdraws their application for a care order. But where it's actually a contested case, the parents win only in just under 3 out of 1,000 cases on the 2007 figures.
Are the people of England getting mad because there are no checks and balances and the state is running wild?
Some are, but I find it odd because people just sit there and take it. I find it very, very odd because here you have some really dreadful activity, and yet people just sit there and say, dum-de-dum-de-dum-de, let's just get on with our lives, you know. Because it's this whole issue about miscarriages of justice. It's where do you start and where do you stop? It was, well, I don't know who was it, that pastor who said first they came for this and then they came for the then they came for the Jews and they came, I can't remember the whole statement, but unless you actually fight injustice, it just gets to be a real mess.
But what's wrong with the Child Protective Services? They know it's hurting children. They know it's a fraud. They know it's evil. They know their courts are a joke. I mean, who are these people?
Well, what you can understand in a sense why a lot of people have left the job, and there are so many vacancies. And so we get child protection social workers from all sorts, including America, to be fair. Well, America's not a bad idea because at least we speak a similar language. Going to get hunting child protection social workers from Greece and everything, it's a bit odd in a sense because, you'd expect somebody who understands the cultures here, really.